How are you so good at this? Well, I went to school for this. Did you really? Yeah, well, everybody needs to experience what I just experienced. She's like, I've remodeled my house 2 or 3 times since I've lived in it, and this is the most stress-free I've ever been. She's like, I've never had a project finish and the contractor absolutely finish and me not lose some portion of money. You made sure that everything was taken care of, and that was just so amazing. And what can we do? We've got to start. You've got to do this for other people.
Welcome to the Designer's Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kate Bendewald, interior designer, mama, and CEO of a thriving interior design business built on authentic word-of-mouth referrals. It wasn't that long ago that I stepped away from my corporate architecture job to build my own dream, one that would allow me more time with the people that I love, the ability to serve my clients at the highest level, and to make a great living. It wasn't always easy, and I've made my share of mistakes along the way. Fast forward to today, and I've learned a thing or two. This podcast is for you, the inspired, creative, ambitious, and let's admit it, occasionally overwhelmed interior designer who shares this dream of transforming lives by transforming homes. Join me and my guest each week as we walk through practical ways to build an interior design business you love and helps you transform your clients' lives. You can do this. Thank you for letting me spend part of this day with you. Let's get to it. Today, I'm joined by Cerissa McKinnis, an interior designer from San Antonio, Texas, and a member of the Interior Designers Business Blueprint program. I invited Cerissa to sit and chat with me first because she's a righteous good time. Her energy is contagious, and she has this ability to light up even a virtual space through Zoom. But also because I wanted to hear her interior design business journey. It was clear from an early age that Cerissa had an innate eye for design when, at just 16, she scoffed at a set of architectural plans her parents were considering and insisted that changes were made. And she was right. After attempting career paths towards being a doctor and then a lawyer, she had what she calls a God moment, and she knew that interior design was her calling. She shares how she has had many doors close on her over the years, but her persistence has paid off. Today, she runs a thriving interior design business she is proud of. I love that Cerissa has an attitude of being a lifelong learner, and she views the work she does as part of her legacy that will live on long after she's gone. I truly enjoyed getting to spend some time and hanging out with Cerissa today. Let's listen to her story now. Hi, good morning, Cerissa. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kate. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled to have you today. So today we are joined by Cerissa McKinnis of Industrious Interiors. She's an interior designer out of San Antonio, Texas, a fellow Texan. Welcome. She's also a member inside the Interior Designers Business Blueprint. And Cerissa has just been like, you came into the membership and it was just like, all of a sudden there was this new energy inside the group. And I was like, who is this powerhouse? I love her. And then you and I had a chance to talk one-on-one, and I just got to learn a little bit more about you and your story. And you're just doing really cool things. And I'm so thrilled to have you selfishly, like, in my world a little bit, but also just your energy is so contagious. And I love that energy that you bring to the group. And so the designers in the membership, as you know, they span years in terms of experience. Some people are brand new. Some people are just getting started. They're, just starting to develop their business. There are others who are more in the space where you are. You've kind of been doing it for a while, but you're in this stage, in this phase of business where you're really leveling up. You're polishing your, all your things, and you've just been blasting through the program. It's amazing. But anyway, I was like, I gotta invite her to the podcast because I just want to share your light and your energy with our members. And you've got you've done some really cool things. I'm hoping we can chat about that today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here and I love Designers Oasis. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're not a member, you're missing out. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, because you're missing out on Cerissa. All right, Cerissa, you know I'm always going to ask a backstory. I want to know where did your design journey start? Have you always been a creative person? How did you find yourself in the world of interior design?
I have always been a creative person. Creativity has always been my outlet for as long as I can remember. When I was a little girl and going into my teenage years, I did ceramics and I painted and I loved art. How I got into design, when I was about 15 years old, my mother and my father started to plan and build their dream home. And they hired an architect and the works. Like they were not built. It wasn't semi-custom. It was a fully custom home that they were building. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my mom and looking at the floor plan and telling my mom, like, look, you got to take this floor plan back to this architect because I don't understand why he put the toilet in the bathroom. And I don't know if you guys remember, but in this was like the late 90s. So in the late 90s, they used to put the toilet close to the bathroom. Like it's a lot of houses that are like that. This was the norm back then. And I have no idea why they didn't think about. I'm not in the bathroom. Lord help me. The toilet near the kitchen. Near the kitchen.
Cerissa, I'm not sure I remember where it was supposed to go.
You know, where it was like years.
This makes me feel so much better because this morning has been kind of bananas for religion at the house. And I feel like a little bit wackadoodle. And I'm like, okay, it's me. It's all good. But now I know it's Friday. We're all good. Okay, so near the kitchen. Yes, got it. That makes sense.
Near the kitchen. And so, I mean, like the door of the bathroom opened up into the kitchen. And I told my mother, I said, Mom, you have 20, 30 people over for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Mm-hmm. You need to tell this architect to put this bathroom someplace else. It needs to be by the front door or something. You don't need any unwanted odors anywhere. And so my mom was like, oh my gosh, we've been going to meet with this architect so many times. Is he going to be able to change it? This is a big change. And I said, well, you need to ask him. And you should have asked me to look at this before now. But
how old were you when this happened?
I must have been about 15 or 16.
Wow. Well, yeah.
And it's
very natural for you to look at that and say, this is.
And at that point, I had never even been introduced to architecture or interior design. That was my first introduction. And immediately I was like, it's a no for me. But, and so as that process went on, my best friend's family was also building a custom home at the same time. And so I never got to see my mom's dream come to light because my mother passed away right before they were going to start building. And so we didn't build that custom home. However, I was able to watch my best friend's home get built. And during the time I was with them picking out brick, carpet, paint for the exterior, tile, countertops, all this stuff. And my best friend, who was the same age as me, was like, what is wrong with you? They keep dragging us to all of these places to pick out stuff. And why are you so interested? And it's to the point now, 30 years later, where my best friend is like, can you please talk to my mom about her remodel? Because I don't want to talk to my mom about her remodel. But that's how it all started.
Oh my goodness. What a story. Well, I'm so sorry for your loss. That must have been really tragic and hard for you, especially at that tender age. I'm really glad though that you did have the opportunity to at least be a part of that next process with somebody that was obviously very close to you and continues to be a dear friend. And clearly that made an impact on you and your life. And here you are. I don't know how many years later, but now did you go straight out of high school into the design world? What was your
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, well, no, that's not a lot of people's past. Tell us what that looks like for you.
No, so what happened was my parents encouraged my creativity as a way of a release or a place to go for escape, but not as a career path. And so when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist. I used to watch TLC all the time. And back in the day, TLC used to have actual operations. Like they used to show actual operations on regular television. And Cerissa sat there and watched it. I enjoyed it so much. And so I wanted to be some type of surgeon at some point in life. And then I got to college and I had my first class biology 101. Mind you, I was a straight A student. My friends call me a genius. I competed in academic events. I was said to be some kind of scientist or something like that. I tell people I study the science of design now. So I haven't left science, but nonetheless, I went to college to be a pediatrician, and I got to school, biology 101, and I failed miserably. I never failed before in my life. Oh my God. And I failed miserably. I mean, miserably. My father thought that I must have been over there in Atlanta having my best life. Yeah. And I was in Atlanta struggling, trying to had tutoring sessions and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was having fun, but let me tell you, I was stressed out because I'd never failed before. And so I changed my major to pre-law because I like to talk. And then
still and then, in no way lowering the bar or the expectations for yourself. I love it.
No, not at all. And then one day I had this experience that I can only describe as a God experience. And I was in my dorm room and I looked up at my roommate and I said to her, I said, you know what? When I get to be in my 30s, I'm going to have a life crisis and be an interior designer. And my roommate was like, so why don't you do that now? And I was like, because I don't even know what that is. And that's why I say it's a God experience, because I had never even heard of an interior designer before. I had no idea what I was saying. So I got up and I asked Jeeves, I'm dating myself. So fellow Design Oasis members, if you are not old enough to know who Ask Jeeves are, he predated Yahoo and Google. He was Uncle Google, and he actually had a name, Jeeves. But Jeeves was not as smart as Google was.
Okay.
Jeeves was not as smart as Google.
The first thing that you said, I asked Jesus, but you said Ask Jeeves.
No, I asked Jeeves.
I think we're about the same age. I'm like, I don't remember Ask Jeeves, but go ahead.
You don't remember Jeeves? Oh my gosh, he had a suit on and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And that's like when the internet was like in its infancy for us as the end users.
Than Google.
He wore a suit and a top hat and everything. It was a big to do. And so Jeeves only knew where I could go to school for interior design. He couldn't even tell me what interior design was. And so what I did was I looked in the phone book and I found a list of, I just looked under interior designers and I started calling interior design companies. Where should I go to school to be an interior designer? And they were like, we're not hiring right now. Click.
Like,
where should I go to school to be? Like I didn't even like. I'm trying to go to school. I'm not even going to be eligible for employment with your company for at least another 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to go to college. And so I finally got 2 or 3 designers who were willing to listen to the question.
Wow.
And they told me a school to go to. I ended up going to the Art Institute of Atlanta, and my GPA went from like a 2.5 when I was struggling to a 3.8 in one semester.
Wow.
And I sat in class and I realized this is why I had that, what I called a God experience, was because this, I feel like, is what I was created for. I feel like interior design is that perfect mix of technical and creative. And it allows for me to use both sides of my brain and be super happy while I'm doing it. So.
Love that. I want to go back for a moment there. Because I know there's some listeners who've had this experience that, maybe you're listening to Cerissa's story and you're thinking, yeah, I've been in those shoes where I've been trying to knock on doors and get information and find out how does this work. Granted, today it's a lot easier to find this information, but I can't tell you how many times over the years I've had either young designers or somebody looking to switch careers who have come to me and said, I'm trying to understand how to get into the interior design business. And when I said I would be willing to talk to them, they just about fell out of their chairs because they're like, I can't tell you how many people I've tried to contact who either don't call me back, don't write me back, just nothing, right? Not even a no, just like, so, if you've, that resonated for me, and it just is shocking. So if you're a designer and somebody knocks on your door and they want information about how to get into this industry, do the world a favor and just share what you know. Just give them 5 minutes. So, but you finally found somebody who gave you kind of a roadmap for where to get started, and you found yourself at the Art Institute, and you sat there and you were just like, this is it. I'm supposed to be doing this, and it all clicked and it all made sense. And so you graduated. What happened next? Did you work for other designers, or did you go out on your own right away?
What happened next? This is my soapbox, so I won't stay on there long. But this is what I tell the designers, the young designers, the young designers that I meet, right? Mm-hmm. Especially the ones now that I meet that work in this space that I used to work in. Mm-hmm. So I was not confident when I graduated. And because I wasn't confident in my skills and abilities, or even in the fact in my God-given talent, I made the decision I applied for 1 or 2 design firms, did not get hired. And so I went and I made the decision to work retail. Mm-hmm. And so I worked as I was an interior designer at a retail furniture store in Atlanta. And that was, in retrospect, probably the worst decision that I made. And I'm not shaming retail at all. So if you are a retail designer, understand I've been there. I worked in the industry from 2004. No, I'm sorry. Yes, 2004 to 2013. So almost 10 years. So I'm not shaming you for being there. But what I am saying is it's not the best decision if you know that, 1, you want to run a firm, 2, you want to have any type of ASID or NCDIQ accreditation. If you want to do remodeling, or if you even want to at some point change your mind and go work at an architectural firm, it is just really hard when you pigeonhole yourself like that, for you to then come back out and for the world to respect who you are. And so I made the decision. I did that for 10 years. And somewhere along the line, it just didn't work because that involves sales. And because I was a newbie, sales really wasn't very good. So, and I also exited school right before the recession, and the recession hit Georgia very hard. And if I had had faith and confidence in myself, I could have been at a design firm or an architectural firm, and I may have better fared the recession than I did working retail.
Can I ask you a question? So in CIDQ,
of course,
they don't recognize design work in the retail environment as contributing towards your experience. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So NCIDQ, for those of you who are listening, is the accreditation program to become an accredited interior designer. And it's very, very important that you have that, especially in for the commercial world. Arguably in residential, I'm sure there's plenty of people that would argue with me about the importance of it in residential. Don't send me hate mail. I'm not here to die on that hill. But yeah, so NCIDQ accreditation really has a strong focus on health, safety, and welfare of from the interior design perspective. I know I studied for my NCIDQ, and I was just about to take the test when I left my commercial firm and went to work for myself. And I was like, you know what? This is hard. I don't need it. I could have taken the test right then and there, and I probably would have passed it because I'd been studying my butt off. So I, in some ways, regret it because I was so close. But they look at not only you have to test for, but they look at your experience level, and they want you to have a certain number of years in the number of hours, like full-time hours working for a licensed architect or a licensed interior designer. And so if you go to retail sales, the experience, which I would argue you do get some experience, you definitely get sales experience, but in their eyes, that's not, unless you're working for an accredited architect or designer, they don't count that experience. And so if getting your NCIDQ certification is important, it's important to understand what kind of experience will count towards your experience hours. So it's been a minute since I've talked about NCIDQs. I just wanted to see if I was getting that correct. Hey, designer, are you tired of wasting precious time with prospective clients who are not a right fit? Do you experience imposter syndrome because you know the back end of your business is kind of a hot mess? Perhaps you're experiencing growing pains and you don't have the tools, resources, or team to support you. I get it. I've been there. As an ambitious interior design business owner myself, I know the roller coaster ride this can be. Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about running a profitable word-of-mouth design business, and I want to help you find success too. How would it feel to wake up and face the day knowing exactly what to focus on next, having a roster of enthusiastic clients, including a paid waitlist, and having the space, time, and creative energy to develop projects that you are proud of and are portfolio, if not press-worthy? I want to invite you to learn more about the Interior Designer's Business Blueprint, a business coaching program designed exclusively for interior designers who want to serve their clients at the highest level while making good money, but without the burnout and overwhelm. If you're ready to get off the roller coaster, you don't have to do it alone. Join me inside the Interior Designer's Business Blueprint and get the tools, teaching, and community you need to pave the way for an interior design business your clients love and you are proud of. To learn more, grab the link on your audio player or head to designersoasis.com/blueprint. That's designersoasis.com/blueprint. Okay, so what happened after this? When did you launch Industrious Interiors?
So in 2011, prior to then I did freelance work here and there, but in 2011, I got married to my ex-husband. And at the time, his mom was remodeling her kitchen and 2 bathrooms in her house. And so it kind of really worked out to be almost a whole house remodel. Wow. For the most part. At this point, again, I'm working in a retail environment, not at all and really I wasn't even working in design at this point. And so I began to have conversations with the contractors because they were doing things that my then mother-in-law did not ask for. They didn't understand her budget related questions or key points where, she said things like, I don't want the cheapest, but I don't want the most expensive. She was like mid-level in her budget. She ultimately ended up spending about $75,000 on this project back in 2011. And he quoted her maybe 35. Mm-hmm. And so I helped her navigate that situation. And really, I began to be her advocate. And I spoke to him to the point to where this contractor really didn't like me. And instead of calling me Cerissa, he decided that he wanted to call me Serious, because whenever I came in the space, I always set him in his place. And I made him do what the client asked to do, not what he wanted to do. And so he wanted to call me Serious, Cerissa. But nonetheless, after that experience, my mother-in-law was like, oh my God, how are you so good at this? Well, I went to school for this. Did you really? Yeah, well, everybody needs to experience what I just experienced. She's like, I've remodeled my house 2 or 3 times since I've lived in it. And this is the most stress-free I've ever been. She's like, I've never had a project finish and the contractor absolutely finish and me not lose some portion of money. You made sure that everything was taken care of. And that was just so amazing. And what can we do? We've got to start. You've got to do this for other people. Mm-hmm. And so at that time we did some research, and she actually invested money so that I could purchase CAD software. So I purchased Chief Architect. She invested money so that I could get a website, get established, get business cards, and really, start my company. And so that company was called Design by Cerissa. And she was retired at the time. So she was my administrative assistant. And we did several projects together for the 2 years that she and I worked with one another. One of the projects that I did in that season, which was in 2014, actually 2 projects that we did together, I won design awards for in my local ASID community.
Oh my gosh.
And
winning awards. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And this, but hold on. This is with your mother-in-law at the time?
Yes.
I can't imagine there are too many people listening that are like, I would go into business with my mother-in-law. That's a unique relationship. I'm just gonna say
it was unique, and it didn't end well. But those were the glory years. They were wonderful years. We did have a lot of fun during that time. Sure. And I also want to make this note, Kate, for the listeners who are in the new season. Uh-huh. Guys, I was working at a furniture store, and my off days were Thursday and Friday. That's it. I worked every other day of the week, but Thursday and Friday. And my mother-in-law, for some large remodel projects, was able to make the phone calls, keep clients abreast of what was going on, what had been on order, where we were in line of the project, so that when I got off of work on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and rolled into Thursday and Friday, I could have appointments set to go to tile showrooms and granite yards, and go to the plumbing showroom with my clients and everything. And so I got a lot done in 2 days. So I just want to say that if you are looking to start and you're in whatever situation that you're in, you just need to step back and look at your time and see how can you manage what you have, and then only take on clients that you can fit within the time that you have to manage, and just trust that as you build, it will grow. Because eventually I left the furniture store that I was working at, and I went out on my own, and it took about 3 years.
Oh, wow. So you were working 7 days a week. It's amazing that you had this person at your side to help coordinate things the rest of the time. I mean, if nothing else, that's a huge plug for the value and importance of having an assistant And so you would get off of work and then head to your side hustle and did that for 3 years before you went out full time on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. No
I
wonder
did.
you call it. So now your business is called Industrious Interiors. This is making a lot of sense now. Okay. Can you you've got this really cool concept inside your business that you call yourself the Dreamcaster, which I think is so cool. And so you take this idea of dreaming, like taking your clients' dreams and turning it into reality, and you apply this terminology to each phase of the design project. And so can you kind of high level kind of share share what you mean by this dream casting and how you apply that to your projects and your clients?
Absolutely. So dream casting, I liken unto like vision casting. Most of us have heard of things like vision boarding and even, just writing the vision down so that you can see and you can know where you're going. So our clients, they have a vision or they have a dream for their home. Their problem is they don't know how to make that dream real in their home. And so through the dream casting process, I have my clients first cast their dream to me so that I can catch their vision. And I can then run with it and go through the remainder of the design process, which is the concept phase, the assessment phases, the development phase, and then what I call dream production at the end, which is the implementation and installation and manifestation phase. And so it is, my clients love it. They always tell me I'm a dreamer. I've had several even vendors who said, "Oh my gosh, Cerissa, you're such a visionary. You're such a visionary." And so people have said that to me. And so I said, I'm going to embrace that. You have a dream. I'm here to make your dream come true. And recently, in going through your blueprint program, Kate, I was able to expand my tagline. My tagline used to be manifesting dreams, but now my tagline is manifesting dreams of heaven in your home. And the blueprint really took me through that process to get there. And so that's what I do. I just, the Dreamcaster, I receive your dream, I take your vision, I think about it, I meditate, I mull over it, and then I give it back to you as a realized dream.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. And it's so fitting for you and your personality, which is just so infectious. Can you just mentor a younger designer for a minute? Because you've done so much work on your business in the last year. Can you kind of talk back to your younger business owner self? And if you could tell yourself, or in this case, other designers, like, what is something that you probably would have done sooner or differently that I hate the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. I really do, because somebody said it in a very condescending way to me when I was very young, and probably in an appropriate way, a text. I hate that phrase, but sometimes it just makes sense, right? It's the appropriate thing to say. But what would you say to somebody who's, really looking to take their business to the next level? They've got the dedication to their business, right? That's a no-brainer, but they're still struggling. What would you say to them?
If I could speak to my younger self and other designers that are where I once was, I would say you have to be willing to make an investment in yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the first start. You may not necessarily know what it is that you need, to your point of you don't know what you don't know. But the truth of the matter is that there are people out there who do know what you don't know. And you just have to have the mindset. I had to have the mindset that I needed to invest. because I'm investing not just into my business, but I'm investing into my future, which means I'm investing into my family. I'm investing into my kids, my grandchildren, and future generations just by taking a moment to invest into the business that I believe that I'm called to do. We all, if you have a business, it's because you believe that you are called to be an entrepreneur and be a business owner. And if you've answered the hard call of an entrepreneurship, then you need to be willing to invest in yourself. And at every level, invest in yourself. You never get too high or too knowledgeable where you still can't invest in yourself and in your business. So that's what I would say.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love what I had never really thought about it in the way that you just said, but you said this isn't just an investment in myself and my business, but in future generations. And, you being able to create sort of a legacy for yourself and your family and to be able to carry that on. That's so cool. The other thing that you said too is, I remember the first time the very first coach I ever hired with as a business owner was a sales coach. And I've talked about this before, but I had design experience through school and through my work in the commercial world, but I had never had any opportunity to be in a sales position. And I realized I was screwing up opportunities because I didn't know how to carry that conversation. And that initial investment, I want to say, was like $2,000. And to me at the time, it felt like it might as well have been $1 million at the time, and I think I've told the story in the past, but if you're new here, I'll just say I launched my business in the same year that I had a baby. I quit my job. We were getting married and we were doing a whole house renovation. So we had no money. We had no money. And so, spending that $2,000 felt like so much money. And I would do it again and again and again because it laid this foundation that helped me just do so much more. And I realized ever since then, I've always had some kind of a coach, some sort of a course that I was working through or a mentor that I was working with, because I have, every time you take, reach that next step or that next level, it's sort of a new set of challenges that come up, or a new set of expertise that you need to polish on. And so what I'm hearing from you is you need to have an attitude of being a lifelong learner. And that comes in the form of oftentimes investing in yourself.
Absolutely. You never stop learning.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody that was thinking about joining the interior designer's business blueprint and they weren't sure, if they were ready to make that investment or if it was the right move for them? What would you say?
I would say just do it. Simply put, just do it. No matter if you're like me, who has been in business of some sort since 2011, or if you are not like me and you just opened up your company last week, you need to do it. Because here's the thing that I know for sure that I did not learn in design school. And as Kate just mentioned, her first investment in herself was in sales training. There's a lot of things in the blueprint that talks about a lot of marketing tips, like building your avatar. What does your ideal client look like? What is your elevator pitch? These are all things that you're going to need to know as you promote your business. You're going to need to know that in whatever marketing platform you use, whether you use Facebook and all of their things, or you use Google, or even if you use House, you got to know who you're marketing to. And a lot of times, even when people such as myself who have been in business for so long, you may not necessarily have that fine tune And the blueprint allows you to fine tune that. And then you walk, and then it just allows for you to walk through the rest of the client journey to get you to where I feel like a solid place, a solid foundation for you to be able to go forward. And I'm going to talk to, for a second, the business owners that have been at it for a while, like me. Mm-hmm. Guys, we work in the home industry. A lot of times we deal with houses that have foundation issues, and you have to have a specialist come in and adjust the foundation so the house can continue to stand, grow, and thrive. It is okay to adjust your foundation. Do not stand here and listen, or sit here and listen to this podcast and Kate's podcast and consume her content and think that you don't need it because you're so far, like your house is so old. Foundations need to be fixed all the time. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a newbie, you need a solid foundation. And what I really love about Kate's program, because I too have had several mentors that I've paid for, even another interior design mentor. But what I love so much about Design Oasis and Kate's program is that it sets you up with the foundational things. And then if you go and you just keep coming, she keeps continuing to build so that you can build a really great house and your business can be fantastic. So do it. That's why I say just do it. It doesn't matter where you are. Just do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that. And it feels good too, because it feels like it resonates. I know that there are going to be people who roll their eyes and they're like, oh, here we go again. Ideal client avatar, right? Who's like, I've been there, done that. I'm past that. And if you are, great, good. And there will be a point where you feel like you really got a good handle on it. That said, and it sounds like this comes through for you, two things. Number one, a lot of times I see people who, and here's why it's so important, is because like you just said, like everything else hinges on having that really clear. And you can call it your ideal client avatar. You can call it your perfectly aligned client, which is a phrase I like to use, whatever, it doesn't matter. But two things that I see happening. Number one, that the specificity and the nuance of knowing who your ideal client, it isn't strong enough. This is the thing I see the most. I see designers coming and I ask them, they say, oh yeah, I know who my ideal client is. Okay, well, tell me. And they proceed to give me this vague, sort of wishy-washy idea of this person. And it's based on, demographics or whatever. Are some demographics important? Sure. But that's not nearly the depth that I'm talking about. The depth in which you describe your ideal client is, it's far more nuanced. It's far more personal. And it really gets to the heart and the core of what is this person's core desires, in terms of, what lights them up, what are their hopes and dreams for life, right? And there's just so much more to it. And so that's the one mistake I see the most is it's not even just being specific enough. It's like really getting to the heart of who this person is. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I see is designers who are a lot further along in their career and they haven't revisited their ideal client in a while. And so it starts to get stale and they've outgrown their ideal client and they're ready to up-level their business and start going for bigger projects with better budgets, with dreamier clients, and saying no to the projects that aren't going to fulfill them or light them up. But they're not attracting them because they haven't revisited in a while. It's stale and they're out of touch with that person. And so they need to come back to this exercise and revisit it. And I think this is something you need to do at least every year and make sure that everywhere you're showing up and talking to your ideal client, whether that's on Instagram, any sort of social media platform, obviously on your website, your welcome packet, your services and investment guide, as well as your service itself and how you structure your services and your process, all of that can change when it's time to update that information about who your ideal client is. And I know for me personally that there was a really clear moment in my career where I took a step back and I realized, my ideal client has really shifted and everything on my website isn't talking to them. And so I had to go back and scrub, right? And in your words, I love this. It's like, fix that foundation, because it is. Your ideal client is the foundation of your business. And once you get past that, there's so much more that can be affected. Your services, what services you offer, how you run your service, how you communicate to your clients, what touch points they have, what kind of packages it's all the things, how you communicate. And so that is just one small aspect of it, but it's such an important one. And to me, it's often an undervalued or overlooked aspect. And so I'm glad that you touched on that and put it in that metaphor of a house and a foundation. It's so appropriate for what we do. Oh my gosh, Cerissa, thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure just hanging out with you again, one-on-one. I hope one of these days we get to meet in person. Are you going to High Point this year at all? Do you know?
I am planning to go to High Point, but I'm not 100% positive yet.
I know. So
but I will.
Go this fall.
Yes, it's on my calendar for the October or so. Hopefully.
Oh my gosh, it would be so great to get to meet you in person. Okay, if our folks here want to catch you online, what's your social media handle on your website?
You can catch me on Instagram at Industrious Interiors, or my website is industriousinteriors.net. And that's it.
Got it. Oh my gosh, Cerissa, thank you so much for hanging out with me again. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you so much for letting me spend part of this day with you. If you're loving this podcast, please share it with a friend who you think might also love it. Or perhaps you can take just 30 seconds to open your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating. And if you have just an extra minute, go ahead and leave a review. This helps me so much, and it helps other designers like you to find the podcast. It also adds fuel to my motivation to keep making great episodes just for you. However you choose to help, please know I appreciate you so very much. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.